So if you're here for the meeting, please take a seat.
I know what that is. These are guys, I love their coffee cups. I have them every year. I love the shape of their coffee cups.
Please stand for a flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, mailed to all requested and paid for same, published in Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Jenny.
Here.
Councilman Begg.
Here.
Councilman Delon.
Here.
Councilman Giaconetta.
Here.
Councilwoman Polidori. Here. Councilwoman Riker.
Here.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney, Joseph McMahon, and our Borough Administrator, Kevin Boyle.
Okay, thank you. So it's my honor to swear in our fire department. But before we get there, I always have to make the statement about our volunteer fire department. We have a lot of great organizations in town, but, our fire department is an outstanding group of people. They really put a lot of their time and energy while they're trying to work their jobs, or have families and do everything else, and get to these fires. I don't know if everybody's aware, we had a little fire yesterday that could have gotten out of control very quickly. They were there right away, controlled it, knocked it down. But they do that on a daily basis. This is not just once in a while this happens. I happen to get a lot of the calls that they get on my cell phone, and I see the times that those calls come in. I see how many calls come in. These people have jobs and lives, and they're still taking the time to do that. So we all thank you up here, and I'm sure our community all thanks you for that. With that, will all the new officers please step forward? Left hand? Left hand on the Bible.
Right hand up.
Right hand up. We'll get it. Don't worry. I state your name. Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
I will bear true faith and allegiance.
I will bear true faith and allegiance.
To the same.
To the same.
And to the governments established.
To the governments established.
In the United States.
In the United States.
And in this state.
And in this state.
Under the authority of the people.
Under the authority of the people.
I will faithfully.
I will faithfully.
Impartially.
Impartially.
And justly.
And justly.
Perform all the duties of.
Perform all the duties of.
Pompton Lakes Volunteer Fire Department.
Pompton Lakes Volunteer Fire Department.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you all, guys. Thank you.
We're going to have to...
Squeeze it, Joe.
I'm going with these tall guys. I'm going with this.
Yes. You got to get just in a row.
I don't like being that close to each other.
Jason.
Thank you.
There's paperwork there, guys. Just find your name and you got to fill it out and just leave it with us. We got some pens. You can do it right now, actually. Hoo-ha. Oh, there's that.
What's going on? How you got?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Jay? Wasn't much damage last night, was it?
You want to use my pen?
That's all right.
That's all right.
Just above it.
You need pens?
Could have been, seemed to get knocked down pretty quick.
You can just leave them on the table when you're done there. That's fine.
You don't have it back in there.
Okay, whenever.
Okay, so we're going to move on with our meeting. You're all welcome to stay. I see you guys are running out the door before you even get set, but you're all welcome to stay if you'd like to stay for the meeting. Next on our agenda is I have a proclamation for Arbor Day from 2019. Somehow we might have missed that. Thank you. So I just want to read it now. If you want to come up for shade tree, you want to come up? Well, I'll read from here, then I'll hand it to you. That's how we do that. Okay. You're shy, yes. Whereas in 1872, John Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. The holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. Trees can reduce the erosion of precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Michael Serra, Mayor of the Borough of Pompton Lakes, do hereby proclaim May 24th, 2019 as Pompton Lakes Recognition of Arbor Day, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support the efforts to protect our trees and our woodlands. So this is just reminding everybody about Arbor Day, that we unfortunately passed this, but we usually do this every year, and I'd like to give it to our Shade Tree Commissioner, so he can take this out with him. So if you want to come up. Our Shade Tree kind of oversees all this, and they do a great job, so thank you for everything you do with Shade Tree.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Okay. Could I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
So moved.
Wow. I'll go with
Can't wait.
Councilwoman Riker, Councilwoman Palladori. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Please step up.
Maria Kent, 17 Glen Court. I just want to thank you for taking the time out to listen to all of the presentations that are made over the many, many years that I've been on the Environmental Committee for the environmental problems and situations and the resolutions that we've made for so many years. One of the things that's so important, and I feel so blessed to be a part of, is that we truly do here. We don't always agree, and I don't think anything here is rubber stamped, and I think that's a good thing. But you all, since I've been involved in 1992, have been extremely respectful to the residents, you're respectful to the groups, which is why you have so many volunteers do so many things. And that's very important. And somebody, I guess Santa Claus, brought me a shredder, paper shredder, for Christmas. So I was trying to shred some of the things, and I came across some of the papers from some of the environmental programs that we were talking with some local communities. I won't mention them. But some of the council members and the mayors were not so nice. They were not nice to deal with. When we talked about environmental issues way back even in the 90s, they were very rude. They were very rude to their own residents. They were very rude to anybody who came up to them to talk. I've been with Mayor Murrin, and he was 16 years, and then Mayor Cole, and now Mayor Sarah, and all throughout the council. And I have to say, even down the shore, my home down the shore, I had to deal with a couple council people on a couple issues. I've never seen such a body that was willing to work with the community. And I'm going to give you all the credit to do that. And it makes what we do in the town a lot easier to deal with when you listen. You don't always have to agree, I understand that, but it makes it easier when you give the residents the respect back. And I think sometimes you don't hear that, but tonight I was very proud to watch everybody. I know we have programs going on. We have the Waterway, Lakeside Waterway project going with Councilwoman Polidori, and then we have the South End. So it's very important that we all listen to each other, and you've always done that. And Mayor Sarah, you've been a great asset for us in leading that. So I want to thank everybody.
Before you leave, I want to tell you a very, very quick story. I was using that canvas bag that you brought to us the last time. I was in Trader Joe's, I was loading the project, and the woman who was checking me out said, "Oh my goodness, I did not know that Pompton Lakes has a river cleanup like that," and she was very excited. And I said, "Are you from Pompton Lakes?" And she said, "Yes." And apropos of everything we've been doing, both environmentally and other things, she says, "We just moved into the apartments above the daycare center, and I love the town."
Oh, good.
So,
Yeah.
and so we keep hearing that the millennials are coming. Well, the millennials are
here.
and they are environmentally conscious. And the next time I'm there, and I'll hand. I was caught off guard. I'll hand her my card and give her your number
There you
and
go.
say you're the one to reach out to.
We welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the nice words, but you know, the town runs the best, and I've always said this and everywhere I go, because of all the dedication of all the committees and people that volunteer. And I do talk to a lot of other mayors who do have difficulties finding people to sit on bigger boards, like a planning board even. You know, forget the smaller boards.
Right.
You know, we're lucky enough that we have a town that wants to be involved, the residents want to be involved in the town. So
And we have
it's always a
government
good
who
thing.
listens, so that's
Well,
it's a
thank you
two-way
for that.
street. Two-way street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to speak? Please step up.
Randy Hitton, 443 Montclair Avenue. That was a great presentation that we had before the council meeting from Flood Advisory Board, Warren Vennon, and Stormwater Management from Steve. I don't know his last name, I forgot.
Lorman.
Great presentation. Just on a procedural note, when the meeting first started, you asked if there was any questions from the public. Well, we hadn't seen the meeting yet. Could we, in the future, put those questions from the public afterwards? You did ask at the end.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, but it was kind of quick and everything was kind of over. But you initially started the meeting by asking for public
Well,
comments.
the reason that's done
And we
that
haven't
way-
seen what was going on or heard anything yet.
The reason that's done is that gives them the opportunity to speak. I have to do it that way for them to speak. They're talking from the public when they come up and speak. So that's why they do it. And then I do it the second time for any other public that would like to answer questions of the people that were speaking.
All right, there wasn't a second one on the
No, but that's
agenda.
why I did it.
But, so it caught me off guard. I had 1,000 questions, but I know it would have taken so long.
Yeah, we were getting close on time.
Yeah, I know. Also, on the resolutions, there's 2061 and 2062, two of the DPW workers are resigning.
Yes.
Do we have people filling their positions? Because we're pretty tight on DPW workers.
Right now, we have, you've probably seen it on social media, we have it up, we're looking for people. We had 2 or 3 interviews, I guess. Kevin, is that correct? 2 people interviewed?
Well, right now, we're down 3. We have a gentleman here who's being hired now to replace one of those. Richard Lewis is really he's very sad illness.
Right.
There's not any other reason he's not well. But anyway, so we have people applying. Hopefully get those 2 other back and be in good shape.
It was going to be part of my report, but I can bring it up now. You know, we are hiring into DPW right now, and we've put it out on social media. In the newspapers, really, we've put it in the newspapers, but we don't get a big response from the newspapers, so it seems like we're hiring more from social media. We are also looking for part-time help for anyone over 18 at $11 an hour, plus full-time positions as laborers. You do have to have a CDL or obtain a CDL in the first year. But you would be full-time position with benefits. If you're interested, you can always contact the DPW.
If I'm interested?
Not you, but if you're interested too. Maybe you're interested.
I'm a little old.
There's
Just
always
a recent
a scrum.
snowfall, and I just want to say the DPW, as far as I've seen, did a great job on plow. But I did see in a couple of spots where the handicapped accesses around the parks were never shoveled out. That's also town property, and the residents are responsible to shovel out the handicapped access. I would hope that the town would do it also.
Okay.
And a couple of areas I've seen where it wasn't done, so just a FYI.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
So moved.
Councilman DeLine, Councilwoman Palladori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Approval of minutes. Motion to approve the following minutes, regular meeting minutes of January 8th, 2020.
So moved.
Councilman DeLine,
Second.
Councilman Benen, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Council President Benen, all in favor? Regular meeting minutes, I did that. Bills and claims as listed below, can I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilman Begg?
Okay.
Councilwoman Riker, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Consent agenda whenever you're ready.
Does anyone wish to have any resolutions called for such action?
Nope.
No? Okay. Whereas the mayor and council of Borough of Pompton Lakes has reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Pompton Lakes does not desire to remove resolutions for individual action from that agenda. Now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolution 20-57 through 20-67.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilman Devine, Councilwoman Palladori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? First readings.
Okay. Ordinance 20-06, an ordinance amending Chapter 190, Article 4 of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Pompton Lakes to address the borough's affordable housing obligations under the Fair Housing Act and the Uniform Housing Affordability Controls, UHAC, Section 190-17, Affordable Housing Zones.
This is in reference to our COA obligation that we are finalizing with the courts, so this is just another piece of that. Motion to approve ordinance number 2006 for introduction.
So moved.
Councilman Begg,
Second.
Councilwoman Riker, roll call please.
Councilman Giaconetti.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilwoman Riker.
Yes.
Councilman Benen.
Yes.
Councilman Begg.
Yes.
Councilman Devine.
Yes.
Second readings.
Ordinance 20-01, an ordinance appointing Struble Ragno, attorneys at law Joseph J. Ragno, as borough attorney for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 20-01.
So moved.
Councilman Devine, Councilwoman Riker. Anyone from, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address just this motion? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 20-01?
So moved.
Councilman
Second.
President Benen, Councilman Giaconetti. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 20-01 for final adoption.
So moved.
Councilman Begg,
Second.
Council President Benen, roll call please.
Councilman Giaconetti.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilwoman Riker.
Yes.
Councilman Benen.
Yes.
Councilman Begg.
Yes.
Councilman Devine.
Yes.
Okay, Liz, we can do the next three together.
Okay. 4, correct?
Four, I'm sorry, yes, 4.
Ordinance 20-02, an ordinance, the mayor and borough clerk to execute a lease amendment with the Pompton Lakes Riverdale Little League. Ordinance 2003 is the lease with the Pompton Lakes Riverdale Soccer Association. 2004 is with the Pompton Lakes Youth Organization. 2005, no, I'm
No,
sorry,
it was
just
just
the
three,
4.
yeah. So these are just our lease agreements that we have with the borough rec programs in town. Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 20-2 through 20-4. If you have any questions on any of those three, you could ask.
So moved.
I heard someone down there, Councilman Benen, was it? No, I mean, DeWine?
Devine.
And then Councilman Begg, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone like to address just these three? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the meeting for public comments on the ordinances 2, 3, and 4, 22, 3, and 4?
So moved.
Councilwoman Palladori, Councilman Giaconetti, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 20-02, 03, and 04 for final adoption.
So moved.
Council President Benen,
Second.
Councilman Giaconetti, is that Councilman Giaconetti? Roll call, please.
Councilman Giaconetti.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilwoman Riker.
Yes.
Councilman Benen.
Yes.
Councilman Begg.
Yes.
Councilman Devine.
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 20-05, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and borough clerk to execute tower lease agreement and repeater utilization agreement with North Jersey Police Radio Association pursuant to state statute.
Okay, can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 20-05?
So moved.
Council President Vennin, Councilman Giaconetta, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address this ordinance? No? Can I have a motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 20-05?
So moved.
Councilwoman Palladori, Councilman DeWine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 20-05 for final adoption.
So moved.
Councilman Begg,
Second.
Councilwoman Riker, roll call, please.
Councilman Giaconetta.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilwoman Riker.
Yes.
Councilman Bennon.
Yes.
Councilman Bay.
Yes.
Councilman DeLong.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, before I start on my report, I have a couple of appointments I'd like to make. This is just from the BID, or Business Improvement District. We'd like to appoint Kevin Rooney as a one-year appointment as per the BID bylaws as the mayor's designee. Just going to have a motion.
So moved.
Councilman DeWine,
Second.
Councilwoman Riker, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? For the redevelopment agency, I'd like to propose James Kimberlin for the redevelopment agency. Somebody had stepped down. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Council President Vennin,
Second.
Councilman Giaconetta, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? And then motion to appoint Timothy Trost as Commissioner to the Pompton Lakes MUA for a 5-year term effective February 1st, 2020 through January 31st, 2025. Can I have a motion? Councilwoman Palladori,
Second.
Councilman Begg, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, thank you. Okay, under my report. First of all, I want to thank, like I said before, the Flood Advisory Board and the Stormwater Management Group for doing a great presentation. They always do a very nice presentation. It's good information. For the public, it was about addressing when the houses came down in the south end, we're left with some property, and there's restrictions on what we can do with that property, but they have some ideas they'd like to see, working with Rutgers, to see things move forward, so it's something we will try to incorporate. I do want to mention, I did send an email out to our DPW, to our Business Improvement District, to our administrator, that I got a lot of nice compliments about our holiday decorations this year. They look very good. I thought they looked nice. They did put some money into them. I actually had some representatives of other towns drive through town and say, boy, your town looks very nice. So that's a lot of hard work done there to do that. It's a joint effort and combined effort between, like I said, the Business Improvement District, our DPW. So thank you for that. While talking about the DPW, like I mentioned, we are looking for some employees there. Like I said, if you'd like to start as a laborer, you will have to get required to have a CDL in the first year, which we would help you go through that process. If you're interested in applying, you can contact the DPW directly. We are also looking for part-time help at $11 an hour. That is on an hourly basis, so if someone from college or high school who's over 18 wants to put in a couple hours, again, they can reach out to the DPW. Speaking about the DPW, we had a meeting with myself, the administrator, and the DPW supervisor and assistant supervisor, just to address how we move forward in storms and how we do things with snow removal. And fortunately or unfortunately, we did have a storm the next day, so I think it did work out pretty well for them. It was a smaller storm. I just have to remind everybody again, we're a small department. We have maybe 16 employees down there. It takes time to plow the streets on a bigger storm. It isn't going to be done in 2 hours. Calling them and saying, you didn't plow my street yet, I haven't seen a truck down my street yet, isn't going to make it get there any faster. It takes a good 24 hours for them to hit all the streets and all the roads and salt it and make sure everything's done. And then don't forget, they have to go home, rest, and come back and usually do garbage or something else the next day. So it's a long-haul event when something like this happens. So please give them a break. They will get to your road. Now, look, if 24 hours goes by and no one's been down your road, then you can easily make a call to the DPW and say, hey, look, I live on so-and-so street. Someone hasn't been down my street with a plow. Could you please tell me when you expect to plow? And they will answer you. Everyone gets a little nervous when there's a storm going on, and a lot of phones start flying, and people start calling the office, or calling here, or calling the police department. I haven't seen a plow on my street in the last hour. We'll get there. And remember, there's our town streets, and then there's county streets. The county streets are the responsibility of the county. We do not plow county streets. And some residents are not sure which is a county and which is not. So, they might tell you, unfortunately, that's not a street we plow, that's the county. then the next call from a resident would have to be to the county and move forward from there. All in all, we do a pretty good job in removing the snow. And again, we want to make sure we remove our cars from the street. If there is a snow emergency, it's at least 24 hours, could be longer. I have had residents ask me how come they don't knock on my door and tell me to move my car. No police officer is going to take the time to knock on your door. If your car is in the street during a snow emergency, you will receive a ticket. And that's just what it is. Like I mentioned before, I did have a meeting Friday with Congresswoman Sherrill and about 15 or 20 mayors. It was an informative meeting. She is fighting hard for a couple things here in our district, and one of them being the salt tax, which is, if you're not familiar with that, paying anything over $10,000 in taxes. You can't declare on your income, so she is trying to reverse that, and some of the mayors in this area, including myself, believe that's something we should focus on because it's important in this area at least. And she brought up flooding. You know, I've had numerous meetings with mayors and herself and the Colonel of Army Corps of Engineers about how they're going to address flooding, what's going on with flooding, what towns are doing, and they're, you know, like I said in the beginning of this meeting, a lot of the mayors came up to me and were impressed by what Pompton Lakes is doing with their flooding, and are trying to get more information to start to do it in their own towns. If every town was to clean their rivers of debris and shoals that build up all the way down to the river, the water would flow through these towns much better. Now, that doesn't mean when a big flood comes through that we're not going to get flooded. You know, what I always say is we're trying to knock out the nuisance storms, the smaller storms that cause some areas to flood. If we can get that water to keep flowing, then we have a better shot at doing that. The problem is, if 1 or 2 or 3 towns decide, I don't want to take part in that program, the water acts like a dam in that town and starts backing up. So what we really need to do is concentrate on getting these mayors together and understanding the process. And one of the things I asked the Congresswoman was, maybe we can get some federal grant money to help clean these rivers. You know, maybe the federal government can get involved. They spend millions and millions of dollars with FEMA relief and everything else. They could spend a little money and maybe some grant programs in the areas here to clean up rivers. So she is going to bring that to FEMA and see what they say with that. That being said, the previous mayor, Katie Cole, had started a meeting with all the Passaic County mayors once a year. And the mayor of Woodland Park has reached out to me, and he thought that was a good idea, so we're going to start the process again. And in March, the first week of March, all the mayors from Passaic County will be meeting to discuss the concerns we have as a community, as a group, as a county. And I think that's a good way to move forward, especially with flooding, because it affects so many towns, not by border lines, but by where the water runs. So once I get through that meeting, we'll have more information, and I'll pass that on. I was proud to attend another Eagle ceremony this last Sunday. I will tell you that our Boy Scout troop, I've been involved now as mayor for a 5th year. I've probably gone to 17 or 20 Eagle Scout ceremonies from one troop. That's a huge number of Eagle Scouts. I think every kid that joins the Boy Scouts there becomes an Eagle Scout. It's just amazing. So congratulations to that troop and for all they do. I wish well to our attorney, who's under the weather right now and having some health issues, so hopefully he'll be up on his feet and be back soon. And with that, that's my report. Council President?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple Sundays ago, in light of the tragedies against the religious communities in Jersey City, Muncie, New York, and Texas, the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey hosted a safety and security summit that Councilwoman Riker mentioned at the last meeting. I attended, and there were a ton of elected officials there in support of this. You know, among those local officials, there were 2 senators, 4 congressmen. Seemed like a lot of law enforcement were there as well. Speakers highlighted a grant programs available through FEMA for houses of worship and nonprofits to what they call target harden their facilities via physical security like bollards, you know, prevent cars from crashing in, and digital security like cameras and whatnot. So I did a quick search. It's available. You know, just look it up online, or you can contact me and I can get you in touch with the folks that are doing this. And the one takeaway from this was that children aren't born hating others, that hate is a learned behavior. And that is my report.
Okay, thank you. That's probably a pretty popular group that went there. There was a lot of people, officials there, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Councilman Devine.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to start off again by thanking the Flood Advisory Board for their presentation on the floodplain restoration master plan tonight. In that note, I do want to remind everyone that on February 27th at 7:30 p.m. here in the Borough Chambers, the Flood Advisory Board will be hosting a presentation on the 2020 flood insurance rate maps during their February meeting. Important information on the map changes and the potential impact for Pompton Lakes residents will be presented by Nick Agnoli, our CS coordinator. He is of Nick Agnoli Engineering. So again, he did this, I think, back in 2010 or so, because the maps are going to be adopted. You know, again, the Flood Advisory Board is looking to get as much pertinent information so residents that may be affected by these map changes at least understand what their rights and responsibilities are in their next step. So again, that will be on February 27th at 7:30 here in the borough. Second, last Monday I attended the Shade Tree Commission meeting. Ann Tessinelli was sworn into a new 5-year term as a Shade Tree Commissioner. I want to congratulate her on her appointment. The Commission discussed some of the durability issues with some deer guard materials that were used for plantings during the CSIP grant. And then, you know, the administrator passed it along, but based on the assessment of our arborist, John Linson, the cherry trees and the white pine at the library that's used for the holiday stroll lighting at the library will need to be replaced in the near future. What replaces them, when, and how, that still needs to be worked out, but I did want to make sure that the council was aware that that is going to be a need in the future. In the past, the Shade Tree Commission has worked with the Women's Club to help distribute saplings to people who wanted them. Since we do have 2 active Women's Club members on our council, asking that maybe one of you can gauge their interest in supporting that effort once again.
We do it for Arbor Day.
You do it for Arbor Day?
I do it with Randy.
Okay. And in that note, our commission is planning for this year's Arbor Day celebration. Look out for more information regarding that, including the partnership with the Women's Club. The Arbor Day is the last Friday in April, which is April 24th, and typically the Shade Tree Commission has the essays that students write about the importance of Arbor Day. So I'm asking that we plan ahead for that ceremony at the April 22nd council meeting. And then finally, although not discussed at the Shade Tree Commission, and I can't remember the council person that brought this up at a previous council meeting, but at the League of Municipalities, it was announced that every municipality in the state had the ability to get a seedling from the Samuel Oak, and I'm looking at Councilwoman Powers, so I'm pretty sure we did it. And and that information was sent around. I did want to let everyone know we are going to be accepting that Salem Oak seedling, so I'm sure we'll be working with the Shade Tree Commission to determine a nice prominent location for the growth of that historic tree. Finally, and I really didn't want to shouldn't have to do this, but we had a pedestrian crash 2 nights ago, and you know, this more or less follows on the heels of our Street Smart campaign that we did this past fall. And we didn't spend our time and resources on this campaign to make ourselves feel better about doing that kind of campaign or for our own edification. It was an educational program. The information's out there. A lot of it is really common sense, and the stuff is important. And we found out why it's important the other night. You know, again, some of the key lessons from that campaign: cross at intersections, not at mid-block. That's what that gentleman was doing when unfortunately he was hit. It was 350 feet from intersection to intersection, 175 feet if you split the distance. It takes a minute and a half to walk from the middle of that block to a place that they can legally cross. With speed, if you're driving, you know, drive that maximum speed limit through on Wanacue Avenue. It's 25 miles per hour at the most. A key statistic is a pedestrian survives a crash 95% of the time when hit by a vehicle moving at 20 miles per hour, but that rate drops to 60% at 30 miles per hour. So again, speed kills. In a developed downtown area like ours, that we have a lot of pedestrians, we have a lot of people moving between businesses, the library, children, gosh, pay attention to what you're doing. Heads up, phone down is the whole thing. Whatever you've got on your smart device is not worth hitting someone. It's not worth getting hit because you weren't paying attention to what you were doing crossing the roadway or driving. And in the past, I've spoken on the need to emphasize safety and importance to redevelop our downtown. Following the Street Smart campaign, I did make a request to the administrator to fund sets of pedestrian-actuated flashing beacons in our 2020 capital budget. I had mentioned specifically Wanacue Avenue, the intersections of Wanacue Avenue and Colfax Avenue, and Wanacue Avenue and Lenox Avenue as good potential locations, not only based on the Street Smart campaign, but based on the Complete Streets implementation plan that we had developed as well. Maybe because of the library at Pompton Avenue or the bus stops down by Bartov, that maybe needs to be a third location considered. But I do want to reiterate my request that for these devices in our capital budget for 2020. I think they are that important. I think what unfortunately happened the other night illustrates the importance. And again, as we redevelop, we just added 52, or on the cusp of adding 52 units opening up on Lakeside and Colfax. There are going to be more people walking in our downtown. That is a good thing. That's what we want to see. But along those lines, we do have to make the necessary safety improvements. And this is, the education campaign is one thing, the enforcement of pedestrian crossings is another thing, but we have to start making physical improvements in our downtown as well. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
I just want to...
Well, just let me jump in there first.
Oh, go ahead, before you go to the next.
I want to respond to a couple things. First of all, I agree with the crosswalks and I agree with all things, but also understand the accident that happened there involved, like you said, someone crossing at night, not in a crosswalk, and he was wearing dark and just stepped out into traffic. There are other reasons why he did that, but he stepped out into traffic. So the driver didn't see him, and he actually just stepped in front of the car. Unfortunately, after the accident, he was moved into a hospital, and then the hospital reported him as a death to the news media when actually he did not pass. So we did not have a death from the crosswalk, even though it was reported from the news media and on social media that the person passed away. He did not, and he's getting better, and he's recovering. So that's the first sign. But I agree that crosswalks have to be addressed, and we have to look at that. But I think the keynote that you said there is you have to cross at a crosswalk, especially at night, because people driving are not expecting you to cross the street, especially if you're wearing dark clothing, and cross the street. So that's the most important thing. Also, you mentioned the seedling program, which we are. When I went to the convention at the mayor's luncheon, they spent a good half hour and had a presentation and had a whole thing about it, and they gave the whole history of the tree. And hopefully when we do that, we'll do a history of what that tree was about, because it's a very interesting history of where this seedling comes from. And I guess we will work with Shade Tree and with the council and figure out a place to put that tree. And then I did forget to mention in my report, myself and the administrator met with Nick Agnoli, our flood advisory person, to address the concerns that the residents might bring to him at this meeting. This meeting is an important meeting if you're in a floodway, or you're not in a floodway, or put into a floodway, or removed from a floodway. There's a lot of questions that you might have, so if you think you have any interest in showing up because of that, show up February 27th, 7:30 here. Nick will be here. He'll give a short presentation and then take questions from the audience. We can't talk specifically about your homes, but in general, we can tell you how these flood maps have changed and what that effect can be on an area. You had something, Kathy?
Yeah, I just want to comment on your comments about the crosswalks. I agree with you wholeheartedly. There's one other place in terms of a very active crosswalk. I tried to cross it this evening. It was very difficult to do. Many cars went past me, and I was, waiting for that break. It's Wanacue and Babcock, and that's another place to consider when we're doing this.
Okay. Do you have something, Councilman?
No.
Okay. Who's next? Councilman Giacometto.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to echo with Councilman DeLine, thank the Flood Advisory Board for the presentation, and thank all their members, too, for what they do and all their dedication. Also like to congratulate all the officers from the Pompton Lakes Fire Department that were sworn in tonight. Congratulate them and all the work they do and sacrifice they do. And again, it's good to see them come here and get sworn in and all their dedication. Thank them for everything they do. The last reminder I have is the Pompton Lakes Recreation Commission is hosting a yoga class Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 p.m. to 7:45 p.m., and it's at the Pompton Lakes Teen Center, which is behind the theater, back by the pond hole, and that's at 247 Wanacue Ave. There's a $5 drop-in fee. You pay $5 and you can do the class. Again, it's every Tuesday and Thursday at the Recreation Teen Center, Pompton Lakes Teen Center, from 7 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Palladori.
Thank you, Mayor. I would also like to congratulate and extend a thank you to the Pompton Lakes Fire Department. We appreciate all of their time and dedication. I would like to thank the Flood Advisory Board for their presentation tonight. I am a new liaison with the open space along with Councilman DeLine, so there is a lot of connectivity with some of the projects they were talking about and some of the improvements that we are discussing for Willowfield. So I'm excited to see that move forward. I was excited to see the proclamation for Arbor Day. As Councilman DeLine mentioned, a few years back, one of the members of the Pompton Lakes Women's Club had mentioned to me that the NJ Forestry Department has a program for third graders where they give free tree saplings to third graders if you request them. So I think it was Maddie that went with me the first year. The Women's Club and the Shade Tree decided to work on this together, so we go to the third grade classes in both of the schools and we give a presentation. We start out with me talking through the history of Arbor Day, which is very similar to what was read on the proclamation, and then last year Shade Tree Commissioner Randy Hinton had joined me and talked to the kids about the importance of trees, how to care for them, how to plant saplings. We had the kids name the trees. They had thank you cards made for us. The principals were very excited about having us there, so they had the children do some studying before we got there on the history of shade trees, so they already knew some of the answers to some of our questions, and it was really nice. The kids were excited to go home and plant the trees. They had named, some of the parents had shared pictures with us, so we'll be looking forward to doing that again this year. And then speaking of the Women's Club, I had attended last week. They host once a year a annual meet and greet, so it gives residents the opportunity to come in and meet some of the members that are currently holding positions with some of the committees. There were a lot of new faces in the room, which was very encouraging. We had the opportunity to go around and talk about what each of the committees does and some of the work that the group does in town and in the surrounding community. So, you know, it's an extraordinary group for camaraderie and friendship, but outside of that, they also do a lot for the community in the way of scholarships, actual hands-on work, so they do go out and plant around our memorials in town. They pack emergency food bags for individuals that may be shut in during storms if Meals on Wheels can't get to them. They bake cookies and provide food for homeless shelters in the area. They do work with Chilton Hospital and the Convalescent Center. So it is really an extraordinary group of women that do a lot of work behind the scenes for our community here and outside of that. So I encourage anyone that's interested in learning more or joining us. The meetings are the first Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. at the Christ Church. I also had the opportunity to attend the Cardinal Wrestling fundraising dinner, which was great. They had an awesome turnout. It was a really fun night, so I'm hoping that that benefited them in the way of raising the funds that they needed to raise for the program. And I want to remind everyone that tomorrow night at 274 Wanacue Ave at 7 p.m. is the first meeting for Prevention Coalition for 2020. So if you're interested in learning about what that organization does and what the town has in place to help educate parents of children in the town in the way of preventing drug abuse, vaping, alcohol abuse, 7 p.m. tomorrow night, 274 Wanacue Ave. And that's my report.
Thank you. And that last part, you know, I mentioned it last meeting. It's a very important group that does a lot of quality work that we do through an organization. It's not just haphazardly put things together. They've actually did studies to figure out what's our biggest vice here in town and what our biggest vices. The three of them that came up was underage drinking, vaping, and marijuana, which is not uncommon to a lot of towns. And they try to address them one-on-one. They are always looking for input from especially parents with children in school or anyone. Their meetings usually move pretty quickly, and they do a good job in presenting the information. I would really like to see more involvement of the community with that group because it's a very important group. And I do get a lot of calls as mayor, what is the school doing or what is the town doing or this kid is smoking over here or who's stopping him? This is where we're going to address that kind of concern. So if you're interested in that, please show up to that. Councilwoman Riker.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I want to start my report by thanking Councilman Venon for going to the program that was presented a few weeks ago. I know from experience the Jewish Federation programs are usually quite good. They're very well attended, and they're able to use their reach to get all sorts of very interesting and influential speakers, so thank you. I'm hoping from the information that you got, since we do have significant number of houses of worship in our community, that the information that you were able to get, that you will in some manner share with them, because whatever we can do to make all of them safer is better for the community and also takes some of the pressure off of our specials and our police. I also want to echo the thank you to Lauren Venon and Steve Florman. If I'm not mistaken, was that recorded? That was not recorded, right?
Yeah,
You
yes.
did record it, okay, good. I wasn't sure, so anyone who's tuning in now, if you didn't have an opportunity to see that meeting, our pre-meeting that started at 7, it was really very well done and very, very informative. I want to make a couple follow-up comments to things that I had said on the dais last time. We had discussed the lighting problem on Babcock, especially around the Jazzercise, and I want to thank the mayor and Kevin for reaching out to the utility company and others. I got a very nice email from her thanking me for bringing it to your attention, and it's much appreciated. And also, another follow-up, as you heard us discuss last time, we have a relatively new controller. Sherry is working with us to try to streamline some of our bill paying and invoices, and we met with her a couple of days ago, and we're moving forward with her to try to do things as efficiently and fully as possible. So that's moving along nicely. I want to congratulate a couple of folks. I know the mayor made a couple of appointments earlier. Tim Trost has been a long-time resident of our community. He's done so many things for the community. You know, many of you may know him from the Toys for Tots. He's taken that over for the last couple of years. So I want to congratulate him on being appointed to the MUA. And I look forward to working with a new member of on our redevelopment agency. If I'm not mistaken, I think there's another congratulations. Kevin, do you have an anniversary today? Do you have an anniversary today?
Yeah, good.
Today, yeah, I know. I've spent my birthday here. There's nothing that says love that spending a night with us. So congratulations. I do have a question. Could anyone clarify the date on our 125th anniversary?
July 20, what, date of the anniversary?
The date of the
Celebration or the...
celebration.
July 25th.
July 25th.
July 25th. Okay.
Saturday.
Okay. And just as a reminder, I brought this with me. This is this week's Bags of Bags. Please remember that our DPW is not taking plastic bags anymore. There's special places that you can bring the plastic bags. One is right here in Borough Hall. You folks told me they're in the schools, they're in the library, and the Trex company says if we give them enough bags, they'll give us some benches. My last comment, Mayor, is on a sad note. I just want to mention the death of a longtime Pompton Lakes resident. Many of you may know her. Marcia Bograd just died, as from Bograd's Furniture, and they've been residents in the town for decades, so her family. So I just want to extend my condolences to her husband and the rest of the family. Mayor, that's my report.
Thank you. Councilman Begg.
I'd just like to congratulate the new officers in the fire department, and thank the fire department in general for the great job they do. Particularly last night, they did a fine job at making a stop at a house on Colfax Avenue. And I have to congratulate the residents there too, because they wasted no time in calling the fire department and getting out of the house. And it was a very successful stop. So I attended the Pompton Lakes Board of Education meeting on January 14th. At the meeting, Auditor James Cerula of FWCC gave the audit report to the board for 2019. The auditor recommended some minor policy corrections to the board. The board then approved corrective action on the recommendation areas of salary withholding, retro pay calculations, policy on phone reimbursement, and earning reports for TPAF pension reporting. Superintendent Paul Amoroso gave a biannual harassment, intimidation, bullying report to the board. It reports there were 10 incidents investigated, with 3 incidents being confirmed. It was reported that longtime teacher Louise Decker received a great send-off from the students and staff at Pompton Lakes High School's Christmas Assembly, and that art teacher John Turano was named Teacher of the Year. I attended the Pompton Lakes Community Partnership Bid meeting on January 16th. It was reported that by Rob Walker that Sue Barone and Nizar Taweli were re-elected to the bid, and Kevin Rooney was reappointed to the board. Mayor Sarah reported the Pond Hole parking lot is in the design stage to add 40 additional spaces. It was also reported that the bid will be having a bid book sale on Saturday, February 8th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the bid office 274 Wanacue Ave. I attended the Golden Agers meeting on January 16th, 2020. Members had questions regarding redevelopment projects, a new senior center, and if there will be a new supermarket in the shopping center soon. I attended the Pompton Lakes Planning Board meeting on January 21st. At the reorganization portion of the meeting, John Keating, William Pendexter, and myself were sworn in by Mayor Sarah for another term on the board. Also, the board elected Michael Simone as board chairman and Richard Ficcaro as the vice chairman. The board heard a conceptual proposal for commercial recreational entertainment facilities for 294 Wanacue Avenue from Jeffrey Sheffer. The board looked favorably on the proposal, and that's my report.
Thank you. And I was just to follow up on that, I'm sure Councilman Begg will agree. The business that's looking to come into town is called Smash. And what you do is you take out your frustrations and go in and break things. That's what you do. It's like an escape room or axe throwing. You go into the room and you break things. I guess people pay to do that. There is one in where is it? Englewood?
No, it was Hackensack.
Hackensack. And he's opening a 6,000 square foot one in the Palisades Mall. So this might be a fad, it might be what it is, but they're looking to open one here in town. Of course, it's regimented and there's safety concerns and you have to wear special equipment, but you set up the room in the way you'd like things to be broken. So it could be televisions, it could be dishes, it could be pictures of your ex-wife, it could be whatever you want, and then you hit it with a bat. So I thought it was a little unusual, a little crazy.
I can't wait.
I need one closed session in personnel. Okay. Attorney, have you report? Okay. Minister's report?
Actually, I'm down on one thing, Mayor.
One thing?
I announced my report
Nice.
last week, but by the time Eric got done, this one got done, most of my report was eaten up. But I can talk about the budget. As you know, we start the budget process in September of every year, and it runs to March or April. As of right now, the budget as presented by the departments and different commissions is now put together. I've had the salaries and wages put in there. I have to wait for the auditor to go ahead and do what's called the annual financial statement. That will tell us what our surplus was from last year. It'll tell us what our available base was, because remember last year we had a really good budget, almost no tax increase, and we lost that $20 million available in the Yankee Shopping Center. We ended up putting one tax plan in the budget. So all that's going to be combined. As of right now, if nothing changed from last year, we're up about $80 instead of up about $30. So we're up a little, but that's going to change. but that's going to take a little while. So I'm hoping that I'll hear from the auditor second week of February, I guess would be. Next, I have the final financial meetings of the Finance Committee. But on a whole, though, given the fact that we've had substantial salary increases based upon our contractual obligation with our unions, and another issue, debt service went up because we're now in that amortization point in the schedule where it's going higher, get that back down again. Our pension numbers are relatively stable for the first time in a while, which is pretty good. Healthcare numbers are pretty stable for the first time in a while. So all in all, once you kind of factor in those lower numbers, I think we'll look fairly well going to 2020.
We work, especially Kevin, works very hard on the budget. We try to keep a mean budget here and keep the services that we're offered. Our DPW, this year, we tried to offer them some more benefits down there that they need, some more income, and that's part of this budget. Contractually, there's certain things we are required from us from the unions that we deal with in town, so those costs are never stable, they're always going up, and of course the health care and the pension costs are always increasing, so we have to stay on top of that all the time, at the same time keep our services. So it's a balancing act that we have to move forward. Hopefully when redevelopment comes in and these pilots start kicking in, some of that money can be put to offset some of these costs a little bit and help us. We're not there yet, we're getting close, but we're not there yet. Any questions for the administrator?
I just have one comment. Unless I missed some before, this is the first time I remember seeing the administrator's report in color, which was a lot easier to read.
I always do it.
Oh, this is the first administrator's report I remember seeing in color.
That wasn't...
Does that cost us anything?
That was a fluke, I guess.
Well, keep doing that because it was a lot easier to read.
I guess maybe our new copy machine
Great.
puts it on color, yeah.
Even better.
I have no idea. I scanned it in for you. That's what I did.
And I had one resident, and I answered, I just want to make sure the answer was correct. All the talk and work we did with the curbs would be starting up again in spring? Is that when we'd be going
back? In terms of the repairs?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so when the weather breaks...
Actually, if you second meeting in January, we did an agreement with the contractor for the change order for $11,000 to do those repairs. So once the weather breaks and you can pour concrete, can't pour concrete in 30-degree weather.
Okay. And one last thing I have before I close the session, I thought Councilman Begg was going to mention it. The commissioner at the MUA, who's been there for 35 years, George Decker, has finally stepped down. He's done a lot of important work with the MUA over a long history of time. Maybe started with the MUA, I don't know. He came in and they did a little ceremony for him down there. He really was instrumental in getting an MUA here working and running. So a lot of thank yous to him and congratulations to him on his future plans down south. With that, I'd like to have a motion to open the meeting for public comments.
So moved.
Councilwoman Palladori, Councilman Giaconetta, all in favor? Aye. Against? Anyone from the public would like to address? Please step up.
Helene Zablocki, 6 Butler Street. In September, there was an article in the Record about one of the new redevelopment plans on Hamburg Turnpike, and I'm still trying to understand some of the ins and outs of the pilot program. So I went to the borough's website to check the minutes for the redevelopment agency, and it was actually September 19th because there was a meeting scheduled for that night, and there was a notice on the website that the meeting had been canceled. But there were at least 5 meetings from January of 2019 to September that had agendas and no minutes. And there are a number of other committees and things, and I just looked maybe 2 weeks ago, and the same thing is true. There are spotty areas where minutes are not included. And I think for the residents and transparency, it's important that all of those agencies and committees make sure that after they're approved at the next meeting, that the minutes get posted.
Okay, so that is up to the committees to do. We don't do that as a borough here. It's not required for us to do it, but I do agree with you that the minutes should be up and put up, and I will reach out to those committees again and send them an email to remind them to try to get them up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address?
Randy Hinton, 443 Montclair Avenue. Mr. Mayor, you said you were going to be attending a meeting of the mayors that Mayor Cole had started a while ago.
Yes.
If you could, we just had recent issues with the CSIP grant and the trees being ruined by the deer. If you could just bring it up. I know this is a continuing effort or problem that we have to deal with, but if you meet with the mayors, if you could talk to them as possibly what they're...
Could you send me a text just reminding me so I have it,
Would you let me know when the meeting is, and I will send you a text.
It's in March, first week of March, I think. I don't remember the
Okay,
date.
no problem. I noticed from the January 2nd meeting that Councilman DeLine is the ordinance chairman, and you were talking about social media is better today for hiring people than actually the old newspapers. On social media in the last couple of days, there was talk of the potbelly pigs and pygmy goats from the farm ordinance that was passed 2017, I think it was. At the time, I spoke at the podium as to allowing potbelly pigs and pygmy goats to be an exception to that ordinance, and it wasn't put in that ordinance. Just touching base, if it could, when I talked to Councilman DeLine after that particular meeting, he said at a later date, maybe we could put that amendment in there to allow potbelly pigs. Animal, they're pets. So it was on social...
Well, I didn't make any promises that that would be the case.
Well, I know you weren't making any promises. You said at a later date it could possibly be done. And I see the residents on social media asking...
Well, let's start. There was one resident that asked and had 2 responses, and she was asking what is the rules required to have a pygmy pig? Is there rules? That's what she was asking. So
Correct.
she wasn't asking if you're allowed to have one. She was asking, are there rules in place for a pygmy pig?
There was a question on there asking if it was legal in the town of Pompton Lakes, and somebody made a comment that it was, and it's not. So I'm just asking ordinance committee if they could possibly...
Maybe an attorney could help me with this. We can't enforce anything inside a home, can we?
Inside the home?
Yes.
No, but, well, unless there's licensing requirements and there are...
Right, there would be no licensing requirements, I don't think, for...
Why would, if it's a pet and we have to license cats and dogs, why would we need to know? Don't we have the same rabies issues and things like that?
I
with
don't
these
know, but I
animals?
know other people that have all these other animals are not licensed, is that correct? Chickens, for example, are not licensed.
Yeah,
Right.
like parrots.
Right, so I will talk to Councilman DeLine about it a little bit, but anything that's inside your home, I don't think we have a jurisdiction over. It's outside the home, we don't have jurisdiction.
But if it's a pet, and it's inside your home, you're going to let it outside your home,
Well, that's a
in
different
your
story.
yard. And this is just common sense. These are pets.
Well,
These are, I understand completely why you did what you did, and you were correct in doing what you were doing. At the time, somebody was raising farm animals for meat or to consume, and that's, Pompton Lakes is not for that. But for pets, common sense, this is pets. And there's no reason why you can't put that exception in the order.
well, but there's, what you call a pet and what I call a pet could be 2 different things.
You're playing semantics.
No,
Well, that's the problem.
That's the
It's-
problem, there is
it
semantics
becomes a legal
involved.
issue.
It becomes legal,
Because
yes.
a while ago, when we raised this up again, and there was the question about making an exception for goats, small goats, it was
Pygmy
small
goat.
goats.
It's a
Right,
pet.
well, what's a small goat? So we tried to establish, well, if it's under 50 pounds, maybe we can consider animals with cloven hooves to be permitted. It's a small animal, it's not, you're not raising a cattle, you're not raising
Sure.
a full-size horse, but then it becomes, well, how do you measure, how do you determine 50 pounds? Are you walking around with a scale?
You would.
So it's about the legal capacity, it's about enforceability, and that's where we run into setting up ordinances and making exceptions to ordinances and things like that.
And what happens
And
if
that's
that-
why we end up doing a black and white line on, if the animal has hooves, or it does this, or it does that, then it's not permitted in the borough. I mean, that's what...
And what happens if that goat is 42 pounds and then 6 years later is 57 pounds? Do we take the goat away from this person now all of a sudden? That's the problem. And it sounds ridiculous, but these are concerns that you have to deal with.
A diet for the goat?
Well, that's...
Put on a treadmill.
Well, it just came up on social media.
Yes, I
You were
saw it.
talking about social media.
Yep.
The town is pretty active in social media, so
I
I
did
just
see
thought I'd bring it up, because for people that I've talked to, it's just common sense. It's a pet.
Okay, we can...
I can understand the legality of it from what you're talking about, but, it was on social media recently, so.
It was, I saw it.
Also, Councilman Begg, thank you for attending the Golden Agers.
I've been there other times and you haven't been there.
That is absolutely correct, Councilman Fay. But the thing about that is, I go there because I want to go there. You're a paid employee of the town, and you're a liaison to the committee. You're supposed to be. Not supposed to be. I go there because I want it.
Well,
Thank you very much.
You are a senior, though, are you not?
Excuse me?
Are you a senior, or are you not?
Over 55, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, then I'm in. Okay, then I'm in. All right.
You're in. Come on, join. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Councilman Devine, Councilwoman Palladori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Privilege of the floor, anybody have privilege of the floor? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
So moved.
Councilwoman Riker and Councilman Giacoletto. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Randy, real quick. Just so we're...
Okay, we're recording.
Yeah, okay. Just let me get the door. In closed session, we talked about a personnel matter. Motion to adjourn? Councilman Riker, Councilwoman Palladori. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Oh, guys, before you go, one last thing. I was called by the school. The school is doing on February 6th. They're trying to compete with the county school, and they're highlighting all their elective programs, the cooking, the shop, and they're having a whole big set program. They'd like anybody who wants to come. It's February 6th at 7:30 at the high school.
Yes, cooking arts and
Cooking arts.
of that nature.